if we start bombing again, all we're going to do is indiscriminately kill people again. And as much as they want to call Trump a warmonger, he does not want to kill people. It's very obvious that he thinks twice about that, and very, very seriously.
And I think that's why he's held off so long.
Yeah, you're right.
That's why he's held off so long, and he's been showing some restraint. The thing is it's like, we were talking just before the show here. We said something about the regime people that are in there now. They want to save face because they don't want that regime change. You got a pissed off, not electorate, but you got a pissed off bunch of folks over there. Citizenry that's wanting to hang these guys for all the stuff they've done. Plus, they've got the Americans and the Israelis on their back at the same time. You'd be sitting over there scared to death too. And it's just like any other tyrant type country. They're gonna go away. We got everybody on our rear end, and they're gonna be hiding in holes like Saddam Hussein did, and just like Hitler did. They're gonna be hiding.
Mussolini.
Yeah, and Mussolini. They're
hiding. Mussolini, when they caught him, he was dressed up like a woman. He was dressed up like a woman trying to get out of Italy.
Now, can you see the Ayatollah over there dressed up like a woman somewhere trying to hide?
They kind of dress up like women anyway. Well, you know what I'm saying.
They wouldn't have. Same thing. Yeah, maybe that's the reason they got everybody wearing one of those burqas. That they put on the thing. It's easy to hide a man in a burqa.
It's going to be real interesting to see how this all plays out. The wild card, I believe, that sits out there is the IRGC, which is the military. And they don't want to give up any of their power whatsoever. They want to have the final say in what's going to happen. And they're not going to be given the final say in what's going to happen. And we talked about this. I've talked to Enrico about this on Thursdays. He, of course, is a Jewish citizen and an American citizen. And he's been talking about dealing with the terrorists over in the Middle East that, we here in the United States look at it through a Western lens. We think that the Iranians think about their families the same way we think about our families. And that's not the way it is.
Because you have that theology over there.
That's correct.
Right. I mean, their government is that's the theology is their government.
Yep.
And we don't.
And that's why you have mercy killings.
That's right.
As far as their honor killings, not mercy killings, honor killings. They kill people because they've dishonored the family name. You can't do that in the United States and stay out of jail.
That's right.
It's the way it is. But if you think, well, they're worried about their kids, they're worried about this. There's if you watch, I don't know if anybody else besides me now watches Yellowstone. I'm watching it for the second time now. Started at episode 1 and I'm working through it. And last night I came across the episode that was one of my favorites, and that's when Casey is sitting down and talking to his dad and says, "So you want a war story? Is that what you want, Dad? You want a war story?" And he says, "Yeah, if it explained why you are the way you are now, I want to hear a war story." And he says, "We were going to go in and get a high value target, and we blew the door off the front of his house, and we went in, and he came out of a back room. He was holding his wife in front of him. He had his daughter with him, and he had his daughter with him in front of him on a leash, and he had an AK-47, and he killed a corpsman, and he killed another person." And so I had about 0.2 of a second to decide what I was going to do. And so I killed his wife, and I killed his daughter, and then I killed him.
Everything in front of him.
That's exactly right.
And that's that mentality over there. It's because they go down and put everybody, the innocents, out in front of them, the people that are innocent.
Think about what happened when Trump said a weekend was coming, and he said, we're going to bomb the power plants. We're going to bomb the bridges. What did the IRGC do? They took innocent citizens in Iran, and they put them inside the power plant, and they lined them up on the bridges and said, yeah, go ahead and take out these innocents as well. Well, Trump wouldn't do it.
And then they come back with a thing saying, you killed innocents.
And that's what they would have done. Of course, they do that all the time. It's Hezbollah, Hamas and all of the terrorists. Why do you think that they find missiles in schools?
Missiles in schools and hospitals.
And hospitals and stuff. Because they don't care about the people.
No.
Everybody is got to be up for being a martyr.
Everybody's a martyr.
That's right.
You know, I was in a Republican women's meeting here in Little Rock in Pulaski County, and I remember the subject matter was we were talking about the Muslim, the radical Muslims, and how they're set up, and one gal stood up, and I think she was from Iran, and she started telling us exactly what was going on over there. And then whenever was taking, she didn't want her video taken of her. She didn't want to think because her family was still in Iran. Her family's
still there.
And she feared for her family's safety over there.
And a lot of people talked to me that got out of Iran and Iraq and all those other crazy places where
China's
the Muslims are doing their thing. And, they all said the same thing. I'll talk to you, but don't mention my name. I'm not going to come on the air with you. You can just say you were told by somebody that this is kind of stuff that's happening.
And the same mentality. If you look at it over there in Korea, North Korea, there are people up there, they can't even whisper because they're afraid to even whisper anything bad about the government.
They've got everything bugged in the North.
Right.
The North Korea, I didn't think anybody could be worse than the Stasi in East Berlin during the day, but they're really bad. They're in North Korea.
I mean, they'll kill their own family.
Yeah,
the type things.
You can't say anything.
No,
you might not want to even think loud
because even if you may escape. Even in China, if you try to escape and they find out that you still have family there and you escape, your family goes to jail. Your family
might, and going to jail in China ain't even close to going to jail in the United States.
No, but they may use you for labor or get your kidneys or something like that.
Who knows what might happen? I mean, I'll never forget talking to Alexander Solzhenitsyn about the Gulag. And I was lucky enough to do a one-on-one interview with him.
Uh-huh.
And his illustration was that the United States at this time, this would have been back in the mid-90s, and he said the Soviet Union and the United States are like ships passing in the night. It said that the Soviets, not the Russians, the Soviets at that time, were going towards freedom. They were moving towards freedom. This is détente and all of those things had started coming into being. And, Brezhnev with Italy tattooed on his forehead, was talking about
Gorbachev,
and all those guys. All right, and the Soviet Union wasn't the same as it had been under Khrushchev. All right, there was a little bit more leeway that you could speak your mind, and he said that they were moving slowly but continually towards freedom.
It was almost like a Western civilization. That they were headed more toward that.
And then he said the United States was heading towards totalitarianism.
Yes, and I saw that even when I was in college and taking those Western civilization courses and things, and I was talking to the professor about it. He said that's exactly what's happening there.
Yeah,
and what scared him was whenever the Soviet Union broke up, to all those little
pieces,
the other small pieces and everything, is that all those countries had nuclear capability as well, and with that many nuclear devices, and this is years way back there. And when I was in college, back when rocks were still soft.
Well, that was back in the 80s, the mid 80s.
But we talked about the he was more afraid of the nuclear proliferation or whatever, that where you got nuclear bombs. Everybody's got nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
So all those countries that broke off, they all had nuclear capabilities as well. And that's what scared him. He said that's what I'm mostly concerned about. Just what he's seeing as a professor in Western civilization. I learned so much of those two courses. He said, "Wayne, you ever thought about teaching this kind of course like that, become a professor?" I said, "Nope." I said, because electrical engineers make a lot more than
well, yeah, that's key
at the time, huh?
Yeah, that's the key.
That's right.
If you're going to college not to get a marketable skill, you're going to college for the wrong reason.
Basket weaving doesn't pay all that good.
You can learn and teach yourself things just by reading books. You can do that yourself. That's what Lincoln did and a whole lot of other people did. You don't have to take classes and take tests to show you have the proficiency that like you want to talk about capitalism and how it works and macro and micro and the whole 9 yards. You only go learn all of that is if you're going to work in the industry.
That's right. I remember I worked when I was working with AT&T and Bell Labs and all that. I remember there was one really intelligent guy I talked to, and he wanted to borrow my thermodynamics book, right? And he went and he read it. He came back the next day. He read that whole daggone thermodynamics book that night. Came back next day, and I said, "You've already read it?" He said, "Yeah, I've already read it." I started asking him a few questions, and you could tell he'd read it.
He knew that energy can neither be created nor destroyed.
I mean, he knew you can't create mass or power. You can tear it apart, but it's still something there.
It's right? Something there.
Same thing correct. With the conservation of energy and all those other things that you have. I mean, it was and I just asked him some simple questions, and I could tell real quick that he read the book, because he didn't know anything about that. But just by him reading that book, he reads a book like some people read a novel.
Oh yeah,
he gets into it. He doesn't stop till things, and he had that photographic memory that he's like one of my grandmothers. She could read a book just like that. She'd read one of those thick novels, and she could tell you exactly what page number is on, what was said on that page, the whole bit. I've never seen anybody like that with a photographic memory except my son. My son's that way. Now, he's got a photographic memory. He went through college, and my daughter said, "How does he do that, Dad?" I said, "Magic."
Yeah. In his head, that's exactly what's going on. It is magic. All right, 7:21 on a Tuesday. Usually Brian Norris is here from Americans for Prosperity. He is out taking care of some Americans for Prosperity specific work. He'll be back with us next week here on the Dave Elswick Show from 7 until 9 o'clock on next Tuesday. But today, Wayne's going to be up here in the first hour, and then we're going to be joined by Clint Lancaster in the next half hour. There was a Judge Fox made a decision on the Secretary of State race.
Right.
And we'll tell you what's going on with that, and we'll let Clint explain what our next steps are in that race. 7:22, a break here on the Dave Elswick Show on 101.1 The Answer. All right, 7:25 on a Tuesday morning here on the Dave Elswick Show, 1011 The Answer. And we appreciate you joining us today. If you missed the beginning of the show, just go to any platform out there and you'll find my show, including on that platform. That includes Rumble, X, YouTube, and all the rest of them. And over about a month's time, maybe a little bit more, over 100,000 of you join up and watch the shows later and go back and view them to see what people say. I mean, we're going to have Clint Lancaster on in the next, say 40 minutes. He'll be on right after the news at the top of the hour. And there's some movement going on in the Secretary of State race with Brian Norris and Kim Hammer. And you're going to find out what the latest is about Brian Norris and his, trying to get recounts and different things that he's trying to get done with that race. And we'll tell you what, the Honorable Judge Fox did, and what does that mean for Brian? What does it mean for Kim? What does it mean that what we think they're going to do for Norris? I mean, Hammer's people say he won the race, and that he's going to be the Secretary of State. Norris says not so fast. There's things that went down kind of loosey-goosey behind the scenes that we should be challenging.
Well, the whole thing that I find, not just in this race, but also even in the Republican convention that I attended Saturday.
Right.
The biggest issue I saw that was about rules, and who knows rules, who's following the rules. And that's the biggest thing that I see in all these things. Is rules are becoming more and more important. That you know exactly what those rules are, what they mean, and you have a lot of people that are just learning them through there. And because you say it's that way doesn't necessarily make it so. We have rules, we have standards, we have processes that have been.
But who is the final arbiter about who's following the rules and who's not? Because judges won't get involved in that.
That's exactly right. They say, well, that it's a rule, you don't have standing or something like that.
Those rules were set by the candidates. So
do what?
Some of those rules were set by one of the candidates, the ones in Saline County.
Well, but the problem is, if you're not following the rules, who's to say you're not following the rules?
And if
there's no final person who makes a final decision.
It's crazy. Why make the rules?
And that's just one thing that I've talked to some of the legislators about putting this into that. Whenever you write a statute or proposed statute or something, if you would make sure that you put the definitions in there, exactly what you mean on definitions. And you also put original intent, what you intend that bill to do. And because what happens, it leaves up so much interpretation for the judiciary to figure out.
But if the judiciary will not get involved, and that's happened several times now.
But they'll make decision.
They can't be, the arbiter that says, you're right, you're wrong, this goes, that doesn't. That's just not being done by the judges. They say, I don't have anything to do with the Republican Party, or I don't have anything to do with the Democrats or Libertarians or whatever. And because of that, it's as if, and it's just exactly what Val just alluded to, why even have rules at that point? Because nobody's following them.
Yeah. And the interpretations have not been... They've had interpretations before, but then they come back and say, well, that interpretation wasn't right. And I've seen that happen as well.
Or they just don't even think that the rules apply to them.
Well,
it's like so crazy. It's like there's rules here that you put in place to keep people that you don't like from doing things that you saw them doing. That's why you made the rule. But then when it comes to you, you don't want to follow that rule. Like, that's insane to me.
Yeah.
Well, and it will always seem insane to us as long as there's nobody to be the final arbiter. I mean, that's the bottom line. All right, we've got another opinion coming up. Let's get to that, and then we'll be back with more.
Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are These are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on 3 companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which 3 companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
If things don't change, can you imagine America in 20 years? Scary thought, isn't it? The good news is we have the power to take our nation back. Stay right here for all the information you need. 101.1, The Answer. The Dave Elswick Show is back. 101.1, The Answer.
Okay, it is a Tuesday. It's 7:35, and in the next half hour, Clint Lancaster will be with us and try to explain. Is he going to be on phone or is he coming in? He'll be on phone? Okay. We'll talk to him about what's the next step now, since Justice Fox has ruled in the state Secretary of State election in Saline County. I don't think that it's over yet. I think that they're going to go in and appeal it.
Yeah.
So I would assume that they'll appeal, and they'll want to get to the Supreme Court of Arkansas for a kind of a final arbiter. But is there really legally? I've heard justice, and I'll ask Clint about this when he's on. We've heard judge after judge say, I have no jurisdiction over that party. And if they don't have jurisdiction, then who has the jurisdiction to make the decision about what's right and what's wrong? Somebody has to make that call, or you're going to be forever stuck in that spot.
Yeah. I can see this. It happens all the time. We've talked about that before. Is that judges? Sometimes judges they just don't want to get involved, and so that they look for some way to get out of it. The other thing is that you have to be careful how you file. Sometimes you file in the wrong court, or you have the one that has the wrong jurisdiction. And I understand that jurisdiction is important.
And I know there's a lot of people who said that. Well, I don't want a judge that was with their main thought process being the Democrat Party thought process, and they're making decisions for the Republican Party, but they're using their thoughts as a Democrat. And I understand exactly what you're saying. But for the people who say that, then you should be for closed primaries.
Yes.
And they're not.
And then you get the thing where some say that they're legislating from the bench. And that's the other side of the coin as well. And they don't want to be accused of that as well, that you're legislating from the bench. But what they're doing, they may show bias on one end. It's pretty obvious sometimes it's show biased on some of that things. And
it's kind of when we're talking about the United States and Iran. Iran comes at everything from an Eastern point of view. The United States basically is coming from a Western point of view, which is totally, different than an Eastern point of view.
Because they have different sets of standards. They have different sets of negotiating. They have a whole different culture, and I can see those problems as well. And also, I think Iran right now, you've got the regime that's over there right now, including the IRC. I think they're actually afraid of three different things. They're actually afraid of Israel, the United States, and their own people.
Yeah.
And they're afraid that they'll end up being there'll be gallows up there that they'll all have to face. And they don't want a regime change. They got their regime change when they went from.
They want to be in control.
That's right.
That's an Eastern way of thought.
That's right. And the only way you can do that is you're going to have to. You have you have to think that they're on what is it? They're actually a religious. They're run by religious organizations and that's
Islam.
how they think. So everything's based on that theology.
Islam is religious and political,
right? But their theology is actually their government.
Yeah,
that's
not what our republic is.
It's not the government is for the people. The thing is that the people are supposed to be running the government here, but over there it's actually a religion running it.
Yeah, absolutely it is, and that's going to be a major problem for the United States dealing with the people who are in control of Iran at this time. And you're right, they're afraid of their people. And rightly so. When you go out and you kill 30,000 of them because they were, marching in the streets, and you shot them down in cold blood, or you put them up in a prison and then worked them until they couldn't work anymore, and then took them to the gallows and hung them.
Yeah,
I mean that's it's like the Nazis facing the music after World War II at Nuremberg.
Right. And you end up with a lot of executions of those people that are on the IRC.
Yeah.
That especially in the command string, that they'll be marched up there and says, you are responsible for these people's deaths. You were responsible for all these people, poisonings and things. And just like in World War II, you're responsible for putting all these people through the gas chambers and through those furnaces and things.
For everybody who wants Schindler's List, do you remember the story that they put up, the paragraphs they put up with some of the different people that you met during the movie? And they were historical figures. These are people that were living, breathing human beings. And the commandant of that particular concentration camp, literally, Ralph Fiennes played him as diabolical as you could play him. He would sit up on his balcony and with a high-powered rifle and a scope and willy-nilly pick people just to shoot and kill. All right, so he finally faced justice, and they hung him. That's what they did. They hung him. That's how he died.
And I think that's the Iranian regime. I think they're the Ayatollah and stuff. That they're afraid to lose power, and the same thing will happen there.
They're not afraid. They just know they can't lose power. Right. They got to, they might only have their fingernails dug in, but that gives them at least something to hold on to, and they're going to do it. They're going to continue to do it.
And it's either do or die for them. right now.
Yeah, I think now they can do it and still die. I mean, that's
They're
the way it's working.
In my opinion, they're in a lose-lose situation. I think that Trump knows that too. I think that, but he's trying to be, because you also have the world stage that you're having to deal with as well.
He's made it clear he doesn't want to just. He looks over, like for instance, at the Ukraine, and says, "How ridiculous is it that you guys are fighting like it's World War I, and thousands of people are dying every month?
Yep.
Don't you want to stop this wholesale slaughter that's going on over there?" And right now, neither one's ready to say, "Well, we'll quit if you'll quit." They're not saying that.
You first.
Yeah.
You go first.
It's basically that's what's happening as far as those things are going. The latest story that I have about Iran, I'm running through my stories that I was sent today. A lot going on about L.A. and a lot going on about California. Looks like Hilton's going to be the number 2 vote getter in the primary in California. So we'll have a Republican facing off against a Democrat for the governorship. And that's kind of what everybody's looking at right now. It's the primaries. But Israel refuses to yield to Iran's effort to continue linking Hezbollah with Iran.
Yep.
Iran wants a strike on Hezbollah to be tantamount to an attack on Iran, and Israel won't yield to that. New York Sun reporting, while the Islamic Republic claims it considers strikes on its Hezbollah proxy in Lebanon like an attack on Lebanon, Jerusalem struck Hezbollah targets Monday, offering, some real pushback after there had been a calm that capped the preceding 24-hour exchange of fire between Israel and Iran. Quote, in the last 24 hours, Iran and Hezbollah attempted to force on us a new equation which is unacceptable, said Prime Minister Netanyahu on Monday. They thought they could shoot at Israel from Lebanese territory and from Iran, and that we wouldn't react. It didn't happen, and it won't happen. Israel insists on its right to self-defense, Mr. Netanyahu said. I'm telling this to you, dear citizens, and just as I also say it to my dear friend, President Trump. Mr. Trump, though, pressured Mr. Netanyahu to end the fire exchanges. Quote, both sides, Israel and Iran, are looking to do an immediate ceasefire, said the president on Truth Social, equating the Tehran regime to America's ally. Yep. He's walking a razor's edge right now.
Yeah, well, Iran actually respond to strict pressure, with the reciprocal escalation. It's as soon as you shoot our people, we're going to shoot you.
Yeah,
right, and that's what they respond to. The problem is like you said, you have to be very you're trying to coerce them into, do the right thing.
Well, when they do something, then you do something back, and it will be worse than what they did.
I know that it just says, we'll give you a certain amount of reprieve if
leeway.
If you'll do this, and they haven't been given that reprieve yet. That we're gonna let you off the hook on some of this stuff, but I think that it's kind of to let somebody off the hook for murder, for killing all those people like that. I don't think that's gonna fly at all.
No, at least Trump hasn't allowed it to fly.
No, I think that it's just like when he does a negotiation. You negotiate, you start high, and then you may work down low. Try to work something that's doable. But now he's at the part where, we need those. We need that nuclear dust, and we need that assurance that you're not going to basically would just take your weapons away from you.
And it's not going to be you who goes and gets the dust and brings it to us.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to just hold on to it. You're going to give every last grain of that to us.
Yeah. What worries me the most is that the best thing that we've been able to do in a lot of countries is offer a military dictatorship. If you look through the Philippines and even the Iran, whenever the Chall was in there, and even down South America, that's where we've gone in and basically taken out the leadership in the country. Is that typically the only thing you can do is go in there to start it off, because otherwise you'll have chaos. So you offer a military dictatorship.
Yeah, well,
in there.
Whenever you create a vacuum, something's got to fill the vacuum.
Think about Saddam Hussein. That's how he got in power, is that we put him in power.
And we were backing him when he was fighting who? Iran.
That's right.
I mean, you who are old enough, do you not remember the news footage every night showing the missiles going back and forth between those two countries?
Right. And they got and Iran got enough of that, and they said, wait a minute, says, the United States, and that's what they, in their minds, they think the United States is against us, because they were the ones that put Saddam Hussein in power with their money. Saudi Arabia is one of the players that I think has the biggest influence on this whole thing.
And we got to figure out what the Saud family wants to do.
That's right,
because they're the ones who started Saudi Arabia. All right, so they want final say on any of that.
That's right. Well, they got so much to protect. The United States, Saudi Arabia had all that oil and stuff, but they didn't have the knowledge on how to market it, how to produce how to refine it, all that.
So they brought Western companies in.
That's right. You had the United States companies come in and said, we're going to help you out. And they said, okay. And that's how they became very rich.
And then they showed them the door.
And that's right. It's kind of like Maduro did down in some of the others. They nationalized the refineries and said, they belong to us now.
Well, Chavez started that.
Yeah, Chavez. Well, Maduro was just Chavez's hey boy. Just
his shadow.
Yeah, his shadow, and just went in behind Chavez. And but when they nationalized that, they controlled the oil in that country.
Yeah.
And you look at the dynamics, the world dynamics, is that you had China, it depended on Venezuelan oil and the Iranian oil. And you think about what Trump did. He basically shut the valve off on both of them and said, okay, the way you control the big boy, China, is that you cut off his energy, because you can't run an army without fuel. Yes, and I think China saw some of that, and they started building reserves very quickly.
Yes, they did.
And the oil reserves started getting to the point to where now they're depleting their reserves, and they're trying to get them back up, because they know that their boats and their tanks and everything else, all you got is a lot of people.
Yeah, there's no such thing as electric tanks that you fight and then you go drive to a parking lot somewhere and plug in your tank and charge it up overnight so you're ready to fight the next day. That's just not the way it works.
And the same thing goes for the rare metals, or the metals like uranium and even the ones that are over there in eastern Afghanistan, in that little bit of country in that East Afghanistan area. They have control over that now, because Afghanistan, and that they've been working with the groups out of the Taliban over there, and to get those metals that they need, like the lithium and all that. One of the biggest things I think Arkansas has right now, they've got the lithium here.
Yeah, they got a big play going on down south.
And I always wonder where, we need to maintain that.
And as a country, got to make sure that the CCP doesn't have their fingers involved in that.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
The people that control these minerals and they control the oil, those are countries are going to be, they're going to be the puff daddy in the bunch. They're going to be the ones that are controlling everything.
All right, 7:52. Let's take a break. We'll come back, finish up this segment of the Dave Elswick Show on a Tuesday. We've been talking geopolitical information with you this morning. We'll come back, talk a little bit more about that. Then we'll switch after the news and talk about local news and what's going on with the Secretary of State election. A judge has now made a decision. Where does that lead us? Clint Lancaster, who is representing Brian Norris, will be on with us to say from their position where we're at and what they intend to do. 7 minutes until 8 o'clock. If you got to be there by 8, you might want to step on it a little bit here. I'm not telling you to speed. I think that you're probably going under the speed limit right now. Get up to the speed limit and get to work on time.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174.
From breaking weather coverage to emergency information and local voices, AM radio still matters. Congress is moving closer to protecting AM radio in every vehicle, but your voice is critical. Tell Congress to keep AM radio strong. Text AM to 39179.
There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1, The Answer.
Hello, KDXE listeners. Join me Saturdays, 8 a.m. for a new program about investing in physical gold and silver. The show, Johnny on the Spot, provides valuable insight about buying and selling physical precious metals. Brought to you by CMI Gold and Silver, the nation's oldest bullion firm, serving clients nationwide since 1973. Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. on 101.1 FM The Answer. And check us out online at cmigs.com.
Larry O'Connor sees another example of a power grab.
He's a pig. He's a scum. He's disgusting. He's a liar. But he's better than Susan Collins. Let that be a lesson, Republicans. Let that be a lesson. They will set aside all of their morals, all of their so-called ethics and principles for the quest of power for their party.
O'Connor and Company. Weekday mornings at 6, right before Dave Elswick at 7 on 101.1. The Answer. The conservative voice of Arkansas. The Dave Elswick Show on 101.1. The Answer.
4 minutes until 8 o'clock now here on the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1, The Answer. Glad that you're with us. Hope that we've helped you understand the situation over in the Middle East a little bit more today. The IRGC, the military wing of the Islamists over in Iran, are holding out because they know that the other side of this, if the citizenry get to have free elections and things of that nature, is not going to bear well for the people who have been in power for 47 years and have turned it into, a basic
Well, Maduro,
poop place.
Maduro was doing the same thing down there. And they saw what happened to Maduro, how they went in and snatched Maduro out of there. They stole their president, basically, and his wife. And they saw that and says, we can't let that happen here in Iran. But the thing is, it may happen. It may be just them waiting for the opportunity to stick his head out, and we find out, where he's at, and find that opportunity. They may be just calculating, okay, when's the best opportunity to go in and take that Ayatollah out. Once you remove that Ayatollah or any of his successors or the leadership, that's what you've been seeing them picked off over there in Iran. The leadership, the IRC leadership, been picked off, left it as soon as they stick their heads out.
And once we got things done in Iran, we still have unfinished business in Gaza with Hamas.
Well, I think
Hamas has not put down their weapons.
No, they haven't. And I think that they're in the same situation as the IRC. They're in a predicament where if they put down their weapons, the citizenry, will basically take them and say, we're going to fix and hang all of y'all. We know what you did. We have witnesses that saw what you did.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it better than the way you did it. What they did is the party that was fighting against them took those people that were in the leadership of the other party and threw them off the top of buildings, then put their bodies in pickup trucks and drove them all around so everybody could see what would happen to them if they crossed Hamas. All right, we got Clint Lancaster coming up after the news. That's going to happen next on the Dave Elswick Show.
Let's see, I don't know.
Find us at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Download our apps, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. The pilots are fine. That's President Trump's report on the fate of the two crew members who were on a U.S. military helicopter that crashed near the Strait of Hormuz. The president says the two service members were successfully rescued. The shaky Israel-Iran ceasefire is holding as the two combatants have quit trading fire. Israel's strikes on Hezbollah and Lebanon apparently opened a rift between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu.
President Trump publicly warned Israel not to strike Beirut in its war with Iran-backed Hezbollah militants. When it did on Sunday, Iran responded by firing ballistic missiles at Israel for the first time since the April ceasefire. Israel then struck Iran, with which Mr. Trump has been engaged in weeks of high-stakes negotiations. The fighting has since died down, but the differences between the two leaders may persist. That's because President Trump wants to wind down an unpopular war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz to ease gas prices. Iran says a full ceasefire in Lebanon is key to any deal. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
Why does it take California so long to certify election results, including the votes cast in the Los Angeles mayoral primary?
California takes a long time to count votes, and that's because about 90% of the voters cast their votes by mail. And on election night, counties like Los Angeles will release their results of the mail ballots that they have processed so far, plus whatever votes were cast on election day. Mail ballots typically favor Democratic candidates more so than Republican candidates, and especially in this race, we have evidence that Democrats held onto their ballots all in the final days of the race. They were waiting for the governor's race to settle.
Correspondent Stephen Olemacher says incumbent L.A. Mayor Karen Bass will face another Democrat, Progressive City Council member Nithya Raman, in the runoff. Wall Street, the Dow futures up 168 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 226. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, I'm Kirk Cameron. Is health insurance eating up your budget for 2026? If you're looking for ways to better steward your finances, consider this. Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a health insurance alternative at half the cost. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. While insurance companies tell you when to join, what to pay, and where to go, CHM is different. As a ministry, CHM allows you to share the burden of medical bills with other Christians. You can enroll, switch programs, or leave at any time. Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a world of difference. CHM has 4 flexible programs. You can pick any certified doctor, surgeon, or hospital that you want for eligible care. So make the switch. Take your paycheck back from health insurance this year. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg, 101.1 The Answer. Receive your dental implants and new smile in as little as 1 day with Little Rock's dental implant specialist, Dr. Samuel F. Jurek, DDS. Schedule your consultation now at jurekdds.com. Federal officials have confirmed 3 additional cases of the New World screwworm, a flesh-eating parasite that threatens livestock. The new infections include a calf and goat in Texas and a dog in New Mexico, bringing the total to 5 cases as authorities work to contain the outbreak with quarantine zones and sterile fly releases. Arkansas Tech University's E. Tucker Coliseum, a 50-year campus landmark in Russellville, has been added to the National Register of Historic Places. Opened in 1976, the 3,500-seat arena has hosted sports, concerts, graduations, and major community events for decades. The average 30-year fixed mortgage rate dipped slightly to 6.56% this week, down from 6.6% last week, but remains elevated compared to a year ago, keeping home affordability under pressure as buyers face high borrowing costs and stubborn prices. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
With your sports flash, I'm John Thayer on 101.1 The Answer. Royals are back at home tonight. They'll start a series with the Texas Rangers. Kansas City is 27-39. St. Louis Cardinals will be in New York as they take on the Mets. Dustin May on the bump for St. Louis. Spurs got a win in the NBA Finals last night. They beat the Knicks 115-111. Knicks lead the series 2-1. Game 4 is tomorrow night. The College World Series is set for the upcoming weekend. Friday, Bracket 1 gets underway where West Virginia takes on Troy. Then it's North Carolina against Ole Miss. Saturday, Bracket 2 gets underway. Alabama and Oklahoma meet in the afternoon contest, while Georgia and Texas will play on Saturday night. Northside Power, your trusted name when the power goes out. Generators isn't something they do, it's all they do. Find out more at northsidepower.com. I'm John Thayer with your Sports Flash on 101.1 The Answer.
Larry Elder believes the rhetoric needs to be dialed down.
I want him to know how much the American people hate his guts.
Okay. It would seem to me, after 3 assassination attempts, maybe, just maybe, you might want to turn down the rhetoric. Can you imagine if there had been 3 assassination attempts against Barack Obama? Can you imagine?
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 6, right before Hugh Hewitt at 9 on 101.1 The Answer.
Elswick!
8:06 on a Tuesday, final hour of a Tuesday edition of the Dave Elswick Show. Clint Lancaster is waiting on the phone to talk to us. Yesterday, Judge Fox threw out Brian Norris's lawsuit. We'll find out under what auspices he did that and what was his thought, and then what are Clint's thoughts about his client's thoughts about where to go from here. So let's welcome Clint to the Dave Elswick Show. Clint, good to have you back on the show. You had said that you would come back on as soon as the judge had made a decision. He did yesterday. He said that y'all, I don't know if you didn't have standing or what was the reasoning behind it, but he threw out Brian Norris's lawsuit. So why don't you bring us up to date about where we're at, and then where is your client wanting to go?
Well, David, it's always good to be on your show. I appreciate you having me back. So the background of the case was the Saline County Board of Election Commissioners had a number of election law violations, as many as 8. And our position was that this this lack of security for the ballots calls into question their veracity, whether they're the actual ballots.
Right.
You know, it's not. It's capable. This is a very capable and real threat. You know, I can set up a machine in my basement, a voting machine, but say that it was from Saline County Central Vote Location or New Life Church in Bryant. So what happened was those ballots that were allegedly cast at New Life Church, there was no way to know that those were the actual ballots cast by the voters. And so we did request recounts in 6 counties. The results of the recounts came out the same, but Saline County was the one we had the most problems with. There's nothing that shows that they didn't stop in the middle of the night transporting ballots back and ship, switch out ballots that weren't really voted by the voters. And there's no way to know that. And so, of course, we're not surprised that the recount comes out the same as the election day reporting. Our concern and what the judge missed was that we're saying you don't have any way to know if those ballots were accurate. It's just like if you got stopped with cocaine in your car, you know, the cops got to keep up with who's held that, where did it go. You can't just throw that in the trunk and leave it for a couple of days and then throw it into evidence. It's got to be signed for. It's got to be traceable. You know, the same thing is true for ballots, but that didn't happen here. And so the judge ended up focusing on the recount procedures, even though Saline County's Board of Election Commissioners admitted that they did have some violations. The judge found there were no violations and the process was flawless, and that we're all a bunch of naysayers and, election deniers, basically, to bring frivolous things. And the point was not whether the recount was conducted flawlessly or with flaws. It doesn't matter. The thing is, the ballots aren't secure. And for your readers, like your readers or your listeners rather, your listeners are probably like, why is this so important? Why Saline County? There's a less than.
So
yeah,
Clint,
did you have something, Dave?
Go ahead, Clint.
Oh, yeah. So that's what they missed. And to give the listeners context, Kim Hammer's home county is Saline County. There were less than 1,000 votes separating Brian Norris and Saline County. And Kim Hammer had, he got, in our view, he got the votes he needed. One of the places was Saline County. But if we could have that election voided, then Brian Norris would have more votes than Kim Hammer, and he would be the nominee. So that's why we took this shot at it to make it. So it's a long shot. We knew that coming in, but you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Yeah, absolutely. You're correct. So what's next then?
Well, so we're evaluating. There's a shorter appeal time. I'm confident that by Friday of this week, we'll have a determination about whether we're going to appeal and what that's going to look like. There's a lot that goes into an appellate analysis. You can have all kinds of different ways to affirm or reverse a court when we have to go through those and make sure the client understands, here's the risk of what happens on appeal. There's no risk like you're not going to jail kind of thing, but these things aren't cheap. And so before people invest money in appeals, all my clients, I make sure they know everything about the appeal that I could possibly know going into it.
Okay. So we should expect something by this Friday then about what Brian Norris is going to make this decision through conversations with you, correct?
That's correct. Yes, Brian Norris would make the decision, and then without going into too much detail, I mean, you might imagine that on a statewide race, it's not just Brian Norris. He's got people that advise him. There's working groups that kick this stuff around, political consultants. I'm the lawyer. There's another lawyer on there, another 2 lawyers on there, and we're all making decisions about what will happen. And we have to account for the politics of judges. The Supreme Court of Arkansas is a very conservative court, and they very much follow the letter of the law. So we have to analyze that and come to a conclusion, and that's what the working group will do to make the decisions necessary.
Yeah, if this goes before the Supreme Court, Barbara Webb, of course, took a tumble a couple days ago and has had some problems. Is there a possibility that she would have to be replaced if about this?
I sure hope not. Justice Webb and I had my ex-wife worked for Justice Webb up there, and I've known the Webbs for a long time, and they don't treat me anything special. Barbara Webb enjoyed ruling against me when she was a circuit court judge, but I value her perspective, and I don't think that she would have to recuse from this case or be replaced. But also, I don't know how bad injured she is. This is the first I heard of it. I'll have to text her and tell her I want her to get better soon.
Yeah, because I had heard that Doyle is keeping an eye on her at home now, and that she had was it a concussion that we heard, Val, that she served.
I can't remember.
That seems like to my mind that it was a concussive episode, and of course that can cause problems. And maybe I'll send a text to Doyle. Maybe we can get him to give us an update on how the justice is doing.
Hey, Clint, I have a question for you. So,
yes, ma'am.
In all these posts, like I was looking at a story that was posted by one of the networks, and the comments from people are that Brian Norris is just a sore loser. Can you comment to that?
Well, he's not a sore loser. And he and Kim Hammer said it, basically the same table in this hearing. It's not about whether I really wanted to win and I didn't. This is a strategic thing, right? If you were separated from being because whoever's going to be the Republican nominee is most likely going to be the Secretary of State. That person is in control of all of the elections apparatus and can make changes to voting machines. And so if you're separated by less than 1,000 votes and you can restore a more secure election by getting Secretary of State, it's a shot worth taking. It's not, oh man, this is BS. I got cheated. This is like, whoa, there's a lot of problems here. And if the court says these problems are prolific and serious enough, then I will be the nominee for the Republican Party. So it's not a decision made lightly. That Brian makes the decisions, and the working group just gives him our best advice. And but it's not a sore loser thing. It was like, oh my gosh, we are like 900 and something votes away, I think, from being able to really, really revamp and secure Arkansas elections. So why would you not take that shot if you were in that position? I'll tell you, if they were separated by 10,000 votes, right? When I did the Trump recount in Wisconsin with Jim Trupis, we only targeted Milwaukee and Madison in our recounts and challenges because we knew that if we could get those elections voided, either one of them, Trump would have got the electoral votes. And so that was a shot that was worth taking. And so I am not a sore loser, Val. The guy is just as genuine as can be. And, he's a champion for the people. Even though he's not the elected official right now, he has not stopped fighting for the people everywhere in Independence County, Saline County, federal court. It's just, these are shots that he's taking that could make real impactful changes.
Well, I understand that, but some people are just, childish. I just wanted to clarify that.
Some people, I try to not read too many of them, but there's plenty of vitriol to go around. Like I like to say, fresh poison each week.
Yeah.
From all these keyboard warriors that don't know what they're saying. One news outlet was like, "Well, Brian lost in Pulaski County. Now he's going to lose in Independence." Well, I've won that Independence County case once, and with that opinion from the Supreme Court, I feel very confident that I'm going to win again. But they won't. It's like this one other guy. He enjoys writing when I have losses and making fun of me, but he's awful quiet when I win.
Yeah, how will this affect the Colonel Reynolds lawsuit? Is there any kind of leakage into that particular lawsuit as well?
Not in the cases that are going at the moment. We have, so they're very separate, and they're not really getting benefit or detriment from any of the other cases that are going. It's a criminal case, and so we have got a really, really good defense of what's called selective prosecution, because we have evidence that, Governor Sanders stopped and did an interview within the 100-foot realm of sanctity of elections, and the news people were there. Someone from K-8 was there with a camera within the restricted zone. Arkansas Democrat Gazette was there in the restricted zone. Governor Sanders' husband stopped and did an interview with their kids who were in the restricted zone. But yet you only want to charge my client, right? You don't want to charge anybody else doing it. You're charging my client. And so all we have to do to get that defense in is raise it by what's called a preponderance of the evidence, which is, I probably think this could have happened. And then the burden shifts to the state to disprove that defense beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know how they're going to do that when we have evidence that there were other violators of the restricted zone that they chose not to prosecute, but brought prosecution against Conrad Reynolds and Dustin Black. It's crazy. These are two veterans. I mean, Colonel retired as a colonel, and Dustin Black was in the military, and he's like the great-great-grandson of the Swamp Fox. And I told the prosecutor handling the case that, we need to see Tim Griffin. If he's going to come down here and take it out on our veterans, he should do it personally. I haven't seen him yet.
All right, so by Friday, we should know where we're going. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if we should, hopefully by Friday, know where we're going, and if not, it'll be shortly thereafter. This is going to be something we'll have to make a quick decision on, and so we're evaluating it. It's going through the process.
All right, so if you guys make a decision before then, give Val a call, and we'll set up to have you back on the air.
Sounds good, Dave. I promise I can do that.
All right, Clint. Thank you very much, Clint Lancaster. He, of course, is the legal side of Brian Norris and this ongoing story dealing with the Secretary of State's race. It's 8:19. We got to get our break in. Let's do that. Well, it's 8:20 now. And we're supposed to be at work at 8 o'clock, you're late. It's the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1 The Answer.
The news never stops, and neither does your schedule. That's why we're here, keeping you up to date with all the biggest stories of the day. We're 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hello, KDXE listeners. Join me Saturdays, 8 a.m. for a new program about investing in physical gold and silver. The show, Johnny on the Spot, provides valuable insight about buying and selling physical precious metals. Brought to you by CMI Gold and Silver, the nation's oldest bullion firm, serving clients nationwide since 1973. Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. on 101.1 FM The Answer. And check us out online at cmigs.com.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
America is at a tipping point. To ensure we stay the land of the free and home of the brave, you need to be informed and engaged. That's why we're here. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. The Dave Elswick Show continues now. 101.1 The Answer.
You were asking me who went into the hospital from the Pentagon a ways back when Biden was president. It was the Secretary of Defense,
right,
who went into the hospital, didn't tell anybody that he was going into the hospital. Nobody knew where he was at.
I remember that.
That caused all kinds
They were
of
like,
problems.
yeah, why didn't you tell everybody? Because you're like the lead.
Yeah, you're the number one man, in the Pentagon. So it's kind of interesting. Anyway, I sent a quick text out to Doyle asking how his wife, Barbara Webb, was doing. She's a justice on the Arkansas Supreme Court, and we'd like to make sure that she's doing okay. She took a tumble. Was it last week, Wayne?
It's been a while.
Okay. I think you said that you had heard that she's back at home.
Just a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
But what happened is that I was concerned, and I texted Doyle and asked him about Barbara. She's gone. He said that she's recovering, and
okay.
That's what he said that she's recovering this weekend. When I talked to him at the convention, he said that she was recovering and at home now.
Well, as soon as I know anything, I'll let you know what I know. How's that? We'll do it that way.
I mean, you don't want to discuss the he didn't want to discuss, anything about her condition or what happened or anything. But
and rightly so.
But that might have been because there's other people around too. So
yeah. So hopefully, sometime before Friday.
Hope it wasn't anything serious.
Yeah, we'll know from Clint Lancaster what Brian Norris will decide to do, whether he'll continue to, push the envelope as far as, what's the answer that will make him, what's the best way to put that? Make him happy.
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily a sore loser like some people.
No, I don't think so.
I think he's wanting to just make sure that the process is done correctly.
And just to clarify, I don't think that either.
And that's what he's doing. He's following the process. And a lot of people don't like that. I remember when Bush and Al Gore were fighting it out in Florida, everybody got tired of Gore, going back. And then finally the Supreme Court said, we're done with the recount. It's over. And that's going to, put Bush in as the president of the United States.
And if you have a chain of custody type issue, like Brian, I think, is arguing right now and his lawyer's arguing, I think that if you have a chain of custody issue that you can't track everything, because I know this has been a big problem here in Arkansas, and some of the things that they've had a chain of custody. Now, they've had ballots that were stuck back in a shower stall, here in Pulaski County, and
that's interesting, though, isn't it? I said that's an interesting.
You've heard all kinds of
things. To find ballots is in the shower stall.
Yeah, in the shower stall in the.
Does that mean it was dirty?
You've had ballots that show up at somebody's house that was on the election board or commission or whatever, that ballots up there in what county that is. It was a county up kind of in the northwestern area up there. That I know the old gal that was running for office, and they discovered that there were ballots that this guy took a bunch of ballots home. And so he had ballots at his house.
That's against the law, by the way.
Yes, and that's against the law. So you have those violations like that, and those violations can actually cause considerable
serious problems.
Serious problems for any candidate. It'd be a problem for things. So it can basically you can almost just nullify an election of that and have a redo. And just over a little thing. So you have to look, says, and you think it's a little thing, but if you can't monitor, and I'm sure that Kim would agree with you, if you can't monitor, if you don't have a good chain of custody thing, and actually checking it out and making sure that security's there, I'm sure that Kim would he'd feel the same way.
I would agree,
especially if he's going to run for Secretary of State.
As far as when this is all over with and the smoke clears, if the winner is Brian Norris, he'll be able to hold his head up and say, "I am the true, winner of the Republican primary." If Kim Hammer comes out the winner, he'll be able to do the same thing because they've gone under the microscope as far as this goes.
Well, I love Kim Hammer to death. He's a good guy. He was a hardworking senator and
House member.
And the thing that I like about Kim, he will, he'll say he'll feel the same way. If you're not following the rules and you're not staying within those rules, he's a rules guy too. He is. So I think that he would agree if it comes out that yes, there was a problem with the chain of custody. There's a question.
Okay, and for the rest of you, I asked a question about Colonel Reynolds, and we want to find out where that particular lawsuit is at. I'll send a text to the colonel and see if anything is moving forward. I don't believe probably there is. It'd be when he gets much closer to going in front of a judge.
It got pretty quiet whenever you start showing the governor's done the same thing and some of the other people. And the other thing is that he may have been in a restricted area, but it depends on what he was doing in that restricted area. I think he was doing exit polling rather than doing any other kind of campaign. I don't think he was campaigning for anybody. I think he was actually, or even a vague appearance that he had, that he was campaigning for somebody. I don't think he was doing that. I think he was just asking them, just doing an exit polling about paper ballots.
We'll pick that up on the other side of news, which is happening right now.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. A U.S. Army helicopter crashed near the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump says 2 crew members on board were rescued and they were not injured. The president's upbeat about the chances for an Iran peace deal soon. He says we're very close to having a very good, strong, powerful deal, adding the agreement could be signed in 2 or 3 days. Israel and Iran have stopped attacking each other, at least for now. President Trump had appealed to both sides to quit the attacks. Voters in Maine and Nevada, South Carolina, and North Dakota are going to the polls today, primary election day. Maine's high-stakes U.S. Senate contest has been generating a lot of interest all around the country. And China's reporting its exports picked up pace last month, rising 19.4% from 1 year earlier. More details, srnnews.com.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven. You can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted. It works. It's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-45-BIBLE.
Want your pets to live longer, healthier lives? Tune in to Pets Who Thrive Radio with Tammy King. Tune in for honest conversations that will help your furry family thrive. Sundays at 2 p.m. on 101.1 FM, The Answer.
The price of gold is surging to new highs. It's already topped $5,000 an ounce. The only question is, how much money will you make when gold hits $6,000 an ounce? Investors like you have made small fortunes off the run-up in precious metals, and not just with gold stocks or ETFs. Many have taken advantage of a little by the U.S. government. Now you can too when you get our free special report from veteran trader and investor Jim Woods. It's called Gold Wealth Boosters. This new report outlines amazing gold investments that have returned 12 to 26 times more than investing in gold bullion itself. Given the uncertainty in world markets, the investments outlined in Jim Woods' Gold Wealth Boosters report are crucial in 2026, and it's free. To get your free Gold Wealth Boosters report, log on to EagleGoldReport.com. EagleGoldReport.com. That's EagleGoldReport.com.
Hugh Hewitt explains the midterm strategy.
I was all in for Mitt Romney in 2008, and John McCain beat him. And the next day I said, okay, McCain's our nominee. Let's go for it. Same thing. It's a two-party system. The parties pick their candidates. You abide by their candidate. You can say what you want to say up until that point. But after that, you get behind them, because what matters the most is the control of the Senate.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Circular at 3 on 101.1. The Answer. We bring you the biggest news stories of the day. Not to tell you what to think, but to allow you to have the most information so you can make up your mind. 101.1. The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. You can watch the show right now. The Dave Elswick Show is streaming live on Facebook. This is 101.1, The Answer.
All right, back with you. I wanted to real quickly, excuse me, a story came out today. They finally talked about Hulk Hogan and what was his cause of death. That had not been released yet. It has been now. And they found no drugs or foul play in his dying, and so it's being said that Hulk Hogan died of natural causes. He died in Clearwater after reportedly suffering from possible cardiac arrest. Word of Hogan's death came weeks after he was alleged to be having a health crisis. But his wife, Sky, dispelled those rumors, saying he was strong and was recovering from surgeries. Following an exhaustive review of the statements, medical records, surveillance footage from within the residence, and a visual inspection of Hulk Hogan's body, there has been no evidence to indicate the death of Terry Bollea was anything other than natural. That's what his death report reads. Through the course of the investigation, there's been no evidence to indicate any criminal wrongdoing related to his death. This case is going to be closed and will be considered solved, non-criminal. The report also mentioned a doctor's determination from an August autopsy that Hogan died exclusively from compelling natural causes with no reasonable traumatic or terminal toxicology contributions. He died on July 24th of 2025 at 71 and got his start in championship wrestling from Florida, the CFW, in the late 70s before he eventually joined the World Wrestling Federation in 79. However, it wasn't until he's returned to the WWF, now the WWE, when he really turned into the superstar that fans came to know. If you got Netflix, watch the documentary that they have about Hulk Hogan. It's very good. It talks about how he never realized until he got into about the last third of his career of how big he really was to wrestling.
There's a lot of people don't realize how big they are until later on, and they don't realize that how much influence they have on the
I didn't realize he was as big as he was. I always knew he had a great muscle build. But did you know that he was 6'9"?
He was a big boy.
He was tall, man.
Big old boy.
You know? and still the giant dwarfed him.
Pretty intimidating. It's kind of like, remember the old wrestler called Andre the Giant?
Oh, yeah.
Remember how big that dude was?
Yeah.
I mean, he dwarfed. He just basically overshadowed.
Oh, that's who I'm talking about, because at one of the first WrestleManias, the one that was held at the Pontiac Silverdome, and they sold it out. He wrestled Andre the Giant and won by pinning him.
I remember when
he picked him up and slammed him to the mat. That was amazing.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I used to wrestle in high school, all right, and then when I lived in California, and then I came back, and my dad got stationed in Mississippi, San Antonio, Mississippi, and these guys in that high school down there, my senior year, said, "Let's go to a wrestling match," and I thought it was going to be kind of like I did in high school, that kind of wrestling. I got up there, and that's the first time I ever been exposed to entertainment wrestling, right?
Right.
What it called. And of course they're
sports entertainment.
Yeah, it's actually entertainment. And they actually go to be trained.
Well, they have to
how to hit somebody with a chair and not hurt them.
and how to take those bumps that they take.
Yeah, that's right. And they but it was, you could tell. I said, man, that's a fake of this stuff. And I laughed at those guys. I said, man, that's real. That's real. I said, if that was real, they got to be dead.
Yeah. When they stomp on each other's heads,
he'd be in the hospital emergency room. They'd be taking these guys out and putting them in the back of an ambulance.
Yeah, the next time you watch the WWE, like the SummerSlam or something like that, the latest thing that they've been doing is pulling off the top turnbuckle.
Yeah,
and then smacking the guy's head into it. Well, watch what he does when they pull him back. He doesn't have his hands up or anything. But just before he hits that turnbuckle, his hand will go over the turnbuckle and that metal piece that's there.
And you see the microphones, they actually have microphones underneath the mat.
Yeah.
Right. And to make it even louder.
Yep.
And because you hit a mat like that, or you hit somebody with a chair, I guarantee you it's gonna make a mark.
Yep, I agree. It's gonna leave a mark. Who's the guy who said that? That'll leave a mark. Yeah, that's anyway. That's the latest news that I saw dealing with the things. And anyway, I heard back from Doyle.
Okay.
And Doyle says that Barbara is out of the ICU, making progress, and she had a bad fall at home, and then said, "Thanks for asking." So there you go. She's doing all right. She's recovering from that fall.
Good deal.
And as you get older, I got to tell you, I know this. My wife freaks out because I've been known to be out messing around in the garage and not paying attention to where I'm standing or whatever. And I'll have a lawnmower in back of me or whatever, and I'll turn around to walk away, and down I go.
Yep. It happens.
It freaks my wife out.
As you get older,
yeah.
My daughter, she's on me all the time. Says, "Dad, you okay? You sure you're gonna be all right?" And I said, "Honey, I'm fine." Like that.
Yeah.
And it's just because maybe I just my balance might not have been, thing. But that happens.
Your balance
when I was young.
starts failing when you get older.
Yeah, and it gave me some kind of the VA gave me some kind of deal that goes into my shoe, and then it goes around up on my ankle. And,
oh, really?
And it actually kind of gives lets your feet know where they're at all the time. It's really meant to help any balance issues you have. And I said, I really don't have that bad of balance issue. Well, this is to prevent that. And I say, well, I'm always into prevention.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like to be proactive.
Absolutely,
especially when it comes to my health.
So I'll ask my my foot specialist when I go see her about that.
Well, it's about the balances. Sometimes you may have a little neuropathy down in your lower feet or something like that.
Well, I got a good portion of my right foot, as you know, is gone.
All right. You had a part of your foot missing.
Yeah.
And so and you don't realize that your toes have a lot to do with your balance.
Yeah.
And keeping that balance.
I had one of the best foot doctors that you could possibly have here in the Little Rock area, and it's Dr. Ardawan over at the big hospital that deals just in limbs, and he did the operation on my foot because we could not get one spot to heal up. It just would not heal up. And I'll be honest, I'm one of those guys that, hey, what can we do to get over this? Because I got tired of going in to see the doctor every week, and they would treat it. It got down to the point where all you could see was a pin prick of it, and it flared right back up again. And Dr. Ardawan said, Dave, the only way we'll get rid of this completely is if we take that spot off of your foot.
Along with your foot.
Yeah. And so if you look at your foot and measure about a third of it backwards, that part of my foot is missing. And they said that I would still have my balance, and I do to an extent, but it's not as good as it could be. Yeah, because when I flex off of the ball of my foot, it's gone.
Yeah, it's kind of like me. I broke both the tibia and the fibia in the lower part of my leg.
Yeah, you took a bad fall on that motorcycle.
It wasn't a big tall fall. It's basically just I wasn't that high off the ground when I hit the ground. And in fact, the impact of it hitting the ground wasn't it. It's when I turned, my foot got caught in between the concrete block and stuff, and when I turned to try to fall in a grassy area,
crack, and
that's whenever I twisted. It's a twisting fracture, so it basically booted that up. And they wanted to go back in because I broke all the screws in there, all those Home Depot sheetrock screws they put in. I mean, I broke all those screws. It showed up on the X-ray. So we're going to have to go in there and take all that hardware out and redo it. And I said, I'm 70 years old at that time. So let's just leave it in there, let it grow back. I'm walking now. I'm already, I'm limping a little bit. I
don't want to do it again.
I don't want to lose my sympathy. For my that I'm getting
there you go.
Leg. So our excuse.
All the young ladies, they say, "What's wrong?"
Or my wife said, she said, "There ain't nothing wrong with you."
Yeah,
get up there. Get us there and get that.
Get rid of the program.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
but it's the only thing that this has caused me is that when I do go to beaches, everybody remembers the huge oil spill that they had down there in the Gulf.
Yeah.
And it ruined part of the Gulf. Oh. And there's still small molecules of oil in the water.
Right.
And they don't want me to put my foot in that kind of stuff. They're afraid that there's a possibility of infection. So I've been banned from the Gulf of America.
Shoot, there's flesh-eating algae there because... Well, I know in Pensacola, I did a story on it when I was still living there. The sewage water from the Emerald Coast Utilities seeps out into the bay. And there's been like 7 people last year reported got flesh-eating bacteria.
And then you have all those brackish lakes down there.
Yep.
And they all empty right there into that, right there alongside the beach. And you can see the trash coming out of the brackish lakes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nasty. I mean, it looks plumb nasty. You get out of there and you got a film on you whenever on your body.
I wasn't trying to scare anybody.
No, but
I'm
if you
just saying
swim in
my
the Gulf,
doctor says stay out of the water.
If you get in the Gulf, you're okay. If you get in the bay and in the brackish water, like Wayne's talking about, that's when you have a problem because that water's still.
Or you get one of those hot tubs that they never check anything at some of these resorts.
Yeah,
and they got a lot of foam sitting on top of them.
But not only that, Wayne, but the fish that you eat from the Gulf, from the bay, if you're fishing in the bay, it's could have that stuff. I mean, people, it's not to scare you, but it is a thing. Look into it before you go.
It is.
Well,
but it is.
Same thing. My daughter lives on the golf course with her mom, Mel, and her boys go out there and fish on the lake. And I said, just don't keep them, because all those chemicals that wash off of that thing, so they don't
off the land,
off the grass. It's nice that she says it's really nice because they keep my yard mowed really good. It looks good in the backyard.
Yeah.
The best fish to go and eat is the trout in Spring River.
Well, I love trout. I go up north to the spring and fish in it.
Spring River.
As I walk, I go out and I wade. I put my waders on and I go out there and
nothing like being out there when it's hot in that cold water.
Yeah, and I want everybody to understand, I do catch and release, except that I catch and release in hot oil.
Yeah, me too. That trout especially. Ooh-wee.
It's called hot and grease.
I love eating. I eat what I catch.
Catch and grease is what
I do. I eat what I catch, and I love doing that. I haven't been up fishing for a couple of years now. I need to put that on my list this year. Sometime in August when it get real hot, and go up there by Saddle or someplace up there and get out on the spring.
I used to love to just wade. There's parts of the Saline River I love to that are kind of remote, and I love going to them and just wade fishing and catch those little Kentucky bass. They're just everywhere along there, and you just take some plastic worms and weights and things, just wading that thing, and that's a lot of fun. I remember I took my son and them down there. We were wading down below the I-30 bridge, down between I-30 and on down toward the backside of what they call River Road down there, where it crosses the river. And I was down there, and there was a snake come down there and wrapped around my son's leg. He started freezing and freaking out. And I said, just hold still. He just thinks you're a limb, you'll be fine. Yeah, so don't run.
What was it, a rat snake?
I don't know what it was. It was a snake. He was freaking out that he's fixing to get bit by a snake.
Yeah.
And usually the panic is what kills people. And I said, "You'll be all right. Don't worry about it. If he bites you, just let me know, and we'll get you taken care of."
Yeah, we'll catch the snake and take him with us to the hospital. Dead.
I knew the snake would. He eventually come off and went on downstream. But that's it. He just hit something. He doesn't.
So he was wading, and one of them was swimming.
Well, there's some places down there I enjoy wading. And with little kids and stuff, the little gravel bars all down there.
Yeah.
And it's really good. I'd ride down there with a side by side, and load it up with the grandkids and everything. We go down there and just wade around. And it's during summertime when it's hot and you got nice cool stream coming down there. It's really good. And I enjoy that, just getting out and wading the water and being, especially during the hot summertime, and you can kind of get in the shade and do it.
I've never gone fly fishing. I hear that you got to learn the technique of fly fishing. Mm-hmm. I need to learn that. I'd love to go to Colorado and go fly fishing.
Oh yeah, I've got some friends out in Colorado, and they tell me about the fly fishing season when it starts. Says you almost have to have permission by a landowner and to get to a remote place, because most places that are kind of public said they're stacked in there that morning before daybreak, side by side with their fly rods. And if you learn how to fly fish, that it's kind of like taking a whole bunch of people with whips up there, and they're crossing each other's lines. And
they may catch you in your ear,
and there's some
That's what might happen.
I can tell some stories about topwater plugs in people's ears and stuff like that.
All right, let's take a break, and then we'll come back, finish it up for a Tuesday here on the Dave Elswick Show.
Congress is making progress on legislation to keep AM radio in every vehicle, but we're not done yet. AM radio delivers emergency alerts, local news, weather, and the trusted voices that keep our communities connected. Tell Congress AM radio still matters. Text AM to 39179. That's AM to 39179.
Whether retirement's just around the corner or already here, it's common to be overwhelmed. That's where Total Wealth with David Lucas can help. Utilizing their signature Thrive planning process, they'll work together with you to identify and resolve your concerns, allowing you to fully pursue your passions and enjoy life. Because a successful retirement isn't just how much you save, it's the quality of life you live. Schedule a free evaluation now at TotalWealth.com. While you're at the website, download the free guide to Social Security. It'll help answer a lot of your questions. Go to TotalWealth.com or call 501-382-8800. 501-382-8800. One more time, go to TotalWealth.com or call 501-382-8800. That's 501-382-8800. 501-382-8800. Go to TotalWealth.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Lucas Total Wealth, an Arkansas registered investment advisor. Arkansas insurance license number 161527438.
Did you hear Congressman French Hill on the Dave Elswick Show?
Every Democrat on the ballot this fall voted to raise every Arkansan's taxes last year.
Yeah.
People on the ballot, every Democrat in the House and Senate voted to raise people's taxes in 2026. They voted against an increased child tax credit. They voted against cutting taxes on tips and overtime, which has been such a boon to so many working families. And if you combine for a working mom working two jobs, she's picking up tips, extra income, waiting tables, she's got a double child tax credit and lower taxes and a bigger refund this year. And Trump is trying to finish the decades of attacks on the American homeland, American citizens, and soldiers by Iran.
Don't miss Congressman Hill, Wednesday mornings at 7 on the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1. The Answer. If things don't change, can you imagine America in 20 years? Scary thought, isn't it? The good news is we have the power to take our nation back. Stay right here for all the information you need. 101.1. The Answer. Dave Elswick is the conservative voice of Arkansas, and he's back. 101.1, The Answer.
All right, we've got, about 3 minutes left here, and before we got to go to the news. And Wayne, thank you for coming in today. It's always a pleasure to have you in the studio. Tomorrow we'll start off early. We'll have Congressman Westerman on at 7:35. And we'll also have French Hill in to talk with us. And who was the other person we're having on?
Dr. Keith Abloh. We're going to talk about the AI wave.
Okay. Should you be really nervous about it?
Mm-hmm.
We'll ask him about that and see what he has to say about it here on the Dave Elswick Show. AI is not understood completely yet. The average person, it makes you leery at times. And that's because of all the science fiction we've watched since we were young to being now.
Everything from, you remember the 2001 Space Odyssey?
Oh, yeah.
And Hal.
Hal, yeah.
Yeah. It says, what are you doing, Dave?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Think about this, Dave, as he's unhooking Hal.
What are you doing, Dave? What are you doing?
And of course, recently, Skynet and the Terminator, people... well, they relate to that, and here's the problem. A lot of it's not true yet, not even close.
Well, some of it you can kind of see little things of it, like changing your voice to somebody else's voice.
Yeah, or using a piece of video and using Reagan's voice on an old piece of video that is of Reagan, and it matches the lips along with
everybody says
the vernacular.
That was him talking.
Yeah.
No. And they swear up and down it was him talking, and it wasn't.
I don't believe half the things that I see. I can pick out a lot of things that I know it's fake because that it's just physically not possible for something to do what they're having to do.
Or the person well enough.
Yeah.
That you know that's not them.
Some of the stuff that you see about animals doing some crazy stuff, acting like waving, the person that owns the animal waving the cat waves.
But if you're a child,
not true,
and you see that, if you're a child and you see that, you think that all animals, you grow up thinking that all animals can talk.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
And you have to have a parent to kind of say that's not real.
Yeah, it does not exist that way. That's somebody playing games with you.
And they're trying to humanize an animal.
Well, we all do that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you've ever read Dr. Dolittle, they gave all the animals, human characteristics.
Right. Yeah.
The push me, pull you, and all that
and
stuff.
It happens way back in the Disney time whenever they had those special movies, that for the dogs, they talk to each other.
Oh, yeah.
While they're going and they're lost and stuff, and everybody go, oh.
But then you had Cheech and Chong, and their dog jokes were very funny.
Of course, as they always.
A lot of people don't. If you've never watched Cheech and Chong's last movie, watch that, because what it is basically an overview of their career, and it's really, really good. And they talk about where that particular gig came from. They saw some other people do it, and they just said, "That's pretty funny. I never thought of it that way." So they would show up to do a show, and suddenly both of them would be on their hands and knees, like sniffing each other and going around in circles and stuff. And then they acted like, "Hey, there's Fifi," they get that and all that. They're such a funny.
I remember
two guys.
I was out deer hunting with both my kids, both Heather and Jonathan at different times, and I'd be up there talking about there'd be a coon come up, and of course I've got corn down there in a hollow tree, and the bottom of it, the corn comes out the bottom, and we're sitting there waiting for deer to show up, and this coon climbs up the top, and I, of course, as I narrate it with my voice, and they're very young. I says, Where's the corn out? Yeah, the corn. How come we ain't got any corn in here? And I tried that, and of course, it just get them to laugh. And I said, "You got to be quiet because you're going to
I got you. Like that." All right, we're out of time. We thank you for joining us today. News is next, and then Mike Gallagher here on 101.1 The Answer.